I mean, what is this one?
Oh, this?
Uh-huh.
That's my credo. No regrets.
Everybody makes mistakes, but some of those mistakes tend to be more permanent than others. Rather than carrying a shameless reminder of your former self around for eternity, some people have dreamed up some truly wicked ways to style it out. Whether it's turning your ex's name or face into a bigger joke than your relationship was, trading in that dated tribal tat, or just getting a much needed upgrade, here's some of the most creative tattoo cover-ups around. First up, a classic. I got my ex's name tattooed in an obvious place on my body because I totally thought it was going to last forever, and then it totally didn't. I'm not sure what Mary did to get her name inked on this dude's chest forever, but she must have done something pretty incredible further down the line to have herself transformed into this instead. I must admit, turning that Y into a G and adding the cursive E does look pretty seamless, but there's something slightly off-putting about this Playboy-esque version of Marge Simpson. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if we zoomed out to find that this guy was homie all along. There's gotta be some more creative ways to cover up an ex's name than simply crossing it out or turning it into something even less appealing, right? Well, I'm not sure if this cover-up fits the appealing category, but it's certainly creative. Tara Lynn, you just got voided. Wearing such a bold statement on your skin forever might not be everyone's idea of fun, but literally stamping out an ex's name seems to be a weirdly popular choice. What happened to a good old-fashioned love letter, guys? Although some tattoos are undeniably questionable, to say the least, it really comes down to a matter of personal taste at the end of the day. What do you make of this party dog tat? Totally cute or totally trash? Well, whoever owned it clearly decided it was the latter when they enlisted a new tattoo artist to make this little pup party even harder. He got a cool new hat and they even added a bottle of booze. I'd love to know if there's a deeper meaning behind this one, or whether it's all in the name of ridiculous fun. I don't know about you, but I find the original party dog kinda endearing. What do you guys think? If you think it's an upgrade, hit that like button. And for downgrade, hit that subscribe button. Nah, who am I kidding? You should totally do both anyway. That way, you can be the first to know whenever I upload more weird, wonderful, and downright amazing content. Now where were we? In some cases, there's no need to cover up the original ink when it comes to regrettable tattoos. Just take a look at this savvy solution to erasing an ex-girlfriend. Forget Lauren, it's all about Ralph Lauren now. It might seem like a clever move at first, but who really wants to walk around with a famous logo plastered on their arm? Let's just hope the American fashion brand never goes out of fashion, for his sake. Getting someone's name tattooed on your wrist or arm in cursive writing is one thing, but if you really want to make a bold romantic gesture, why not go all out and get it slapped across your collarbone? You may think changing your ex-girlfriend's name into the name of a famous hot sauce brand by adding a cha at the end in non-matching font and a bad mock-up of the logo is a smart idea. But who's gonna tell him that's not even how you spell sriracha? Sarah, if you're out there, it looks like you dodged a bullet with this one. Getting your girlfriend's name tatted only to break up later on is a pretty big blunder. But some idiots have taken that a step further by getting their ex's entire face instead. Jeez, either this was a terrible tattoo to begin with, or whoever's ex this is was no Marilyn Monroe. But how did this guy go about rectifying this totally poor portrait once the relationship was over? By getting a massive gorilla slapped on top of it. That's how. Either this is a massive insult, or he just happened to dump her around the same time the whole Harambe thing was breaking the internet back in 2016. Who knows? Getting a tattoo of a living person is always a risky business. As we've already seen, a lot can go wrong in the space of a lifetime when it comes to relationships. But what about family members? When Calgary mom Lindsay Pierce got a tattoo of her young daughter Ace, she couldn't foresee any circumstances which would require her to alter it. But all that changed when Ace came out as transgender in 2015. Thankfully, Lindsay's husband Steve is also a tattoo artist, so he decided to do a little gender transformation to put things right. What was once a little girl in a pink dress with pigtails now shows Ace in a blue t-shirt and shorts sporting his current hairstyle. Those are some kick-ass parents. Everybody, take notes. Most people go through that phase during their angsty teenage years when getting a tattoo as soon as possible seems like the most important thing in the world. But if you jump straight in without giving it proper thought, you could end up with something totally dumb like this. That looks more like a toddler armed with a Sharpie mistook your skin for a sketch pad. But thankfully, these mistakes don't have to last forever thanks to talented and trained artists who are able to turn things around. Talk about meow to me wow. If you thought that meow tattoo was shoddily done, just take a look at this guy's terrible attempt to get the Green Lantern logo inked on his chest. Besides the fact it looks like it's been colored in using felt tip, the whole thing looks like it was free-handed after one too many beers. I mean, there's not even a hint of symmetry in that circle. Thankfully, the whole thing went from bad to badass with the help of a decent tattoo artist. Forget 0 to hero, this guy had a 0 to superhero transformation. Do any of you guys have any tattoo disasters to share? Maybe you made a teenage mistake during a drunken trip to Ibiza. Or you and your ex got matching tattoos only to break up a year later. Let me know in the comments below, and I promise I'll do my best not to go laugh. Plus, it can't be any worse than some of the ones I've got coming up. Like this grimacing visage, for example. I seriously doubt this woman would have been particularly flattered by such a tacky tribute in the first place. But what this dude turned her into after the breakup is much, much worse. Any guesses? Just add some horns, a horrifying grin, and some red skin, and voila! You can now go around claiming, my ex-girlfriend is the devil, with the evidence to back it up. That last tattoo might seem like a real kick in the teeth for whoever's face is behind it, but she's not the only unfortunate soul to face such harsh treatment. Just check out this transition from blushing and genuine to some sort of terrifying grim reaper. I guess that's one way to say you're dead to me. And it looks like Erica received a similar treatment when she got turned into a demon bride, complete with some gothic lip fillers and a nose job. Ouch, way harsh, Ty. What about this terrifying demon that's concealing the most innocent looking face beneath it? Seriously, what could she have done to deserve that? Is anyone else slightly creeped out by the idea that those long gone exes are still hidden beneath those layers of extra ink? No matter how much you love a movie, TV show, or celebrity, it's probably worth asking yourself how long that love is going to last before you go ahead and get it tattooed on your body for life. Just ask the idiot who got Ace Ventura's face and his famous catchphrase, "Alrighty then," slapped on the back of their calf. If it weren't for the hair, I'm not even sure I'd recognize him. And what do you do when you fall out of love with your terrible Ace Ventura tat? Get it covered up with an ever so slightly better and equally as massive tattoo of Chewbacca. Because that's the only logical solution, of course. While it might not be a significant improvement, turning Jim Carrey's signature huge mouth into Chewbacca's is one creative move. Remember when tribal tats were all the rage? The art of the tribal tattoo transcends time, culture, and continents. They were used for centuries to identify, protect, and empower those who wore them. But nowadays they mostly look like cheap knockoffs of the real deal. But it's never too late to trade in your old tribal tat for something much cooler. Just ask this guy. Thanks to one seriously skilled artist, this bland, blacked out tattoo turned into a geometric dream. If you look close enough at the original tattoo, it seems like there might even be an older floral design beneath it. Talk about tattooception. But if looking like a souped up Terminator isn't really your thing, there are other ways to jazz up a tribal travesty. Check out this rusted up raven that got a total upgrade. What was once a faded attempt to look cool, now looks like a real work of art. I wonder if someday people will study the way tattoo art style changed throughout the years the same way we study Impressionism and Surrealism. We've all heard the story of the Princess and the Frog, right? You know the drill. She kisses the frog, he turns into a handsome prince, and they live happily ever after. Yada yada yada. But in the case of this hilarious tattoo cover-up, it seems like things might have happened in reverse instead. Damn, it must really suck to know that your ex-partner loves frogs more than they ever loved you, Gene. Here's another tattoo to add to the Hall of Fame of terrible ex-girlfriend tattoos. If you ask me, it seems like the original artist had it out for Kim the moment they inked this on her then-boyfriend's forearm. But believe me when I say, it gets worse. These two must have had one hell of a breakup for her to be transformed into the grotesque, snake-haired Medusa from Greek mythology. There's something slightly off-putting about those garish colors and weird frog-like eyes. It's almost ugly enough to turn you into stone. But of all these terrible ex-girlfriend face tattoos we've seen so far, this has got to be the worst. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if Zabka broke up with this dude because she couldn't bear to look at this terrible likeness of herself on her boyfriend's leg anymore. What's the deal with those beady black eyes and that dark upper lip? Is this his way of telling her she has a mustache? Thankfully, the owner of this offensive body art decided to get it covered up. And boy, what an upgrade. I'm sure Zabka would be satisfied with the result, although she may not appreciate the spooky makeup. Teenage regrets and past relationships aren't the only things a little more ink can improve. Unsightly scars like this one can be hard to cover up in day-to-day life, so why not enlist the help of a skilled tattoo artist to do something incredible like this instead? I don't know about you guys, but that has to be the most adorable little Darth Vader I've ever seen. As if that wasn't clever enough, check out this beautiful rose that has been perfectly planned to cover up a strawberry-colored birthmark. It is estimated that more than 10% of all babies have some sort of birthmark. If you're among that 10% and you don't like the way your birthmark looks, why not study the shape a little closer and imagine what it could be turned into? The possibilities are endless. Speaking of scars, check out this shark attack survivor who decided to get a permanent reminder of their ordeal by having a little baby shark tattooed on their bicep, right in the middle of the space where the fearsome creature sunk its jaws in. But it seems like they later decided that the tiny shark wasn't a good enough representation of the mighty fish they grappled with, so they had this done instead. There's no denying that this new floral shark is much more impressive, but it totally covers the scar. If I survived a shark attack, I'd want to flaunt it on every possible occasion. Something that people often forget is that bad tattoos don't age well. They fade, the lines blur, and they generally look a whole lot less cool than they did in those first few days. Just take a look at this tiger tribal mashup and you'll see what I mean. There are countless ways this terrible tattoo could be improved, but this Aztec masterpiece is truly mind-blowing. Just look at the detail. And that, my friends, is a lesson in choosing your tattoo artist wisely. We've already seen a meager meow turned into an impressive cheetah, but what happens when a roaring big cat is your starting point? According to one study conducted in 2017, which looked at 20,000 snaps of tattoos posted on social media, animal tattoos were the most popular theme, making up 16.3%. Isn't the whole idea of getting tatted to be unique? So how did this dude upgrade his tiger? By getting another animal tattoo, but not the kind you might expect. I don't know about you, but I'll take Animal from the Muppets over a cliche cat any day. If you ask me, getting your romantic partner's name tattooed on you forever is never a good idea. But after going through the trouble of having it covered up or crossed out once, surely you'd have learned your lesson. Which is what makes this armful of regrets all the more baffling. This dude has practically turned his failed relationships into a shopping list. You can't seriously have loved Anna, Rosalie, Jessica, Lena, and Laura enough to get all their names tattooed on you. Jeez, when you read it out like that, it sounds like that song Mambo No. 5. Laura, you've got big boots to fill. Fashionable tattoo placements have changed throughout the years, and if you were a woman in the 90s and early 2000s, one stood out among the rest. The tramp stamp. In case you're not up to speed on your street slang, the so-called tramp stamp is a lower back tattoo that gained a saucy reputation for being paired with low-rise jeans and crop tops. The thing is, like most fads, the tramp stamp quickly went out of fashion, leaving many women with embarrassing relics like this. It's hard to think of a classy way to rectify this without covering her entire back, but I think this elegant peacock design is a pretty nifty fix-up. The same can be said for this lotus cover-up. The placement may be the same, but at least it's a whole lot prettier now. Sometimes the best thing to do in life is own up to your mistakes. Instead of finding a way to cover up that faded starfish tattoo you got on holiday when you were 18, why not draw more attention to it? This is like a visual representation of the phrase, call a spade, except it's call a teenage mistake a teenage mistake. I like your style, dude. If I had $1 for every time I've seen someone with a rose tattoo, I'd be a millionaire by now. In fact, while animals were found to be the most common theme for a tattoo, roses were the most common singular specific item tattooed on Instagram in 2017. So this woman really aimed for unoriginality when she got tatted with a massive rose and a tribal armband. Thankfully, she came to her senses and decided to get it covered up, or should I say, upgraded. Instead of covering both original pieces up, that tribal pattern has become a studded headband for a beautiful girl, and the rose has been turned into a fancy headpiece. Now that's clever. When someone you've been dating turns out to be a total jerk, you'll probably want to turn to your friends for advice. And one of the most common things pals love to say is the simple instruction to just block him. But what happens when you've got his face and name tatted on your back? According to this woman, the same rules apply. Just block him. Literally. Now, I'm no tattoo connoisseur, but that looks like it must have hurt. That's a lot of ink. You might be wondering why tattoos hurt so much? Well, that's because the ink has to get deep enough so that it won't get washed away, but not too deep so that it remains visible. And that sweet spot ends up being right next to your skin's pain receptors. Plus, most modern tattoo artists use mechanical tools that push a needle into the skin from 80 to 150 times a second. Damn, this woman must really hate her ex to endure all that pain. Oh boy, here we go again. Yet another ex-girlfriend immortalized in ink. What happened to buying her flowers, guys? Clearly it's time for Kayla to go, but I bet you didn't expect that she'd be turned into this Batman tribute. It takes a keen eye to see potential in that bold cursive lettering, but this superhero artwork is certainly a statement that is just as bold. But it turns out Batman is a popular cover-up for forgotten exes. Just take a look at Jesse, who has been lost forever in this scene of Batman responding to the bat signal. They must be flattered. And Batman isn't the only fictional character to take the place of an estranged ex-girlfriend. Feast your eyes on this monumental cover-up. Sure, they could have just asked for a bigger rose or a cliche skull or something, but no. For this guy, only a life-size bust of Darth Vader will do. I have to admit, the end result does look pretty badass. I can almost hear him saying,
"Jenny, I am your replacement."
"Got time for another awful tribal tat?" Of course you do. After all, there's plenty of them to go around. Okay, so this one isn't the worst we've seen so far, but it's still pretty boring. There's only so long you can go around rocking the tribal swirls of your faded youth before you start to look a little lame. Thankfully, this guy enlisted the best tattoo artist he could find to turn this outdated sleeve into a cyberpunk baddie. Pretty neat how they turned the circle inside the original swirl into a futuristic centerpiece for the new design, huh? Even the most simplistic tattoos can end up feeling a little bit lackluster as you get older. Just take this cross for example. For whatever reason, the owner of this understated tat decided that it was time for a revamp. Here's a photo of the cover-up in progress. Any ideas yet? With a splash of color, this plain old cross has been transformed into a beautiful blossom tree. I guess nature is this person's religion now. Were you taught never to scribble out your mistakes in school, but to strike them through with one clean line instead? Well, this guy clearly never paid much attention in class because he went ahead and got this cover-up done instead. I guess it did the job because you totally can't read whoever's name was shamelessly plastered beneath it. But it's also kinda ugly, don't you think? Sometimes the idea behind a tattoo isn't terrible, but it's the execution that lets it down. That's exactly how I feel about this design. A mermaid emerging from a flower isn't an awful concept, but the tattoo itself is questionable. Where are her eyes? What's with the swirls in the back? And are those flies around her head? But nothing could prepare you for the cover-up that followed. A book-reading dinosaur complete with a pipe, a top hat, and a monocle. It's certainly an upgrade, but I can foresee an aging hipster wanting to get this covered up again in the future. Cover-ups can take many different forms in the tattooing world, but some people have taken the idea far more literally than others. Just take a look at this terrible tattoo, some tribal nonsense, and a shoddy skull. That's double points on bad tattoo bingo. But how would you cover this monstrosity? Call in a tiny painter decorator to do the job for you, duh! This has got to be one of the most creative cover-ups I've ever seen. If you ask me, the best kind of cover-ups are the ones that use the shape of the original tattoo to transform it into something totally new as seamlessly as possible. Just take a look at this tattoo of some sort of Aztec symbol. It's nothing you haven't seen before, but the souped-up skull it has been turned into is certainly unique. The original tattoo could easily have become part of the skull, but the patterned winter beanie really is an awesome touch. Men aren't the only ones of overly romantic gestures, which ultimately leave them with a painful reminder of their failed relationships. Just check this out. Isaac must have been a real diamond to earn this honor. Or maybe not, considering she went ahead and had it cleverly covered up with a pretty bow. The same can be said for poor old Timmy, who was the victim of this badass cover-up. I wonder if this is her not-so-subtle way of saying he stabbed her right through the heart. The moral of the story in all of this is that no matter how long you think something is gonna last, there are better ways to show your love than getting their name inked on your skin. If you're interested in learning about some of the more extreme tattoo mistakes you should avoid, you should totally watch this video of mine next. It's all about the tattoos that can get you in the most trouble. But while you're still here, which of the tattoo cover-ups in this video did you find the most creative? Let me know in the comments down below, and as always, thanks for watching.